Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
With one's children in the world, one tends to know them so well that one can just look at their faces and know immediately what state of mind they're in. We look at them, we know if they're happy, we know if they're not doing so well, and we know if they're open or not to us, whether there's that flow of relationship, of love, or their minds are somewhere else. And when our children are flowing with us, there's this beautiful connection we have with them. Every minute is wonderful. But then sometimes it's the other way. At the age of my children, coming back from school or spending time with certain friends, and they come back and their faces are closed. They're not open with us. And we know they don't want to communicate or listen to their parents at that moment. And we do what we can. And really, it's not only with children, but it's the same with all of our relationships, with all human beings that we have a connection to. And it's what Martin Buber, the philosopher, calls I-it relationships and I-thou relationships. And an I-it relationship is really like with an object. We may communicate them, we may see them, but it's just in passing. We're not really open to them. But I-thou relationships is when there's a real relationship and there's a nurturing quality to it. We're open, we're flowing with them, there's love, there's connection, a real bond. And so Buber says the more we're in I-thou relationships with others, the more our life feels meaningful. And we can be, he says, not only with human beings, but with the whole world around us, with animals, with objects, with God, obviously. And the more fulfilled we feel in our lives. And the more we're in I-thou with a person, the stronger that bond is, and the deeper it becomes in our lives. So the story of Joseph over these weeks of the Torah really illustrates this type of understanding of what a relationship is very well. Because when Joseph's brothers come to see him, and he's a powerful Egyptian lord, he hides his face from them, a symbol for him refusing to open himself up to them. He scolds them. They don't recognize him. They think he's an Egyptian lord. And they're bewildered by what's happened. They can't understand. He's just playing games with them and not being straightforward with them. And it goes on for weeks, and it just causes such turmoil and tension until last week he tries to frame them by putting a golden goblet in one of their bags and accuses them of stealing. And all they see is that anger and that strange behavior from this Egyptian lord. But then there's a moment where suddenly one of the brothers says, I can't stand this anymore. And so he approaches the Egyptian lord, and he goes with it as if wanting that I-thou relationship. He's just true to himself. He tries to push forward and destroy all the barriers between them with such sincerity and such love that Joseph can't hide his face anymore. And the Torah says he tells all the people around him to run away, and he just starts weeping. And then he's a changed man, and suddenly he's no longer in that I-it relationship, he's in the I-thou. And suddenly he's open to his brothers, and he says, I forgive you for everything you did to me, for throwing me in the pit. He opens himself fully to them. He takes them near him. They have a resolution to all their troubles. And there's a new beginning, right? And he opens himself to them, and it transforms the very fabric of their lives. And the way the Torah sees it, really it's going back. How does the book of Genesis begin after the fall from the garden? Am I my brother's keeper? Right, what Cain says about Abel. But here it's the opposite. I am my brother's keeper. I care. I'm in that I-thou relationship. And it comes from responding to that sincerity. Judah has that sincerity. He wants it, and Joseph can't resist it. So the Torah's message is that unlike children, we don't think about it and it just happens. We adults have that choice how we live our lives. So we can be those I-it relationships, or we can be those I-thou relationships. It's a choice we make in our lives, how open we are to people around us. And there's moments of opportunity where we can change some of those I-it relationships into I-thou if we're willing to take them. And it speaks to the power of those relationships that transform not only our own lives with goodness, with fulfillment, with that love that comes from them, it also makes God turn his face towards us, and also brings blessing to the whole world. Shabbat Shalom.